Hello, this is Richard with Simplified Manufacturing. This is a video manual of the EXMICRO2i. The EXMICRO2i is an HDMI 2.0B extender on category cable. Its purpose is to allow you to take HDMI AV signals, audio and video, over great distances, in this case up to 165 feet on Cat6 or Cat6A cable. Category cable is relatively inexpensive, and it's neat because you can change the ends as technology changes. For an example, if you want a 4K 120 extender or an 8K extender, as those become available, you just swap those ends out. If you had an HDMI cable, a lot of times you cannot re-terminate an HDMI cable, of course, and that the technology may be surpassed what that cable is capable of. The EXMICRO2i also supports HDR10 Plus and all the audio formats. In addition, it can send IR signals to and from. So if you want to turn off and on the display from one end, or if you want to turn off and on or control the cable box or source or whatever at the transmitting end, you can do that as well. So the features are, it's 18 gig 4K UHD YUV 444 60 Hz. What that means is it supports the entire HDMI 2.0B format, with the exception of Dolby Vision. However, it does support HDR10 Plus, hybrid log gamma, and wide color gamut. It has two-way 12-volt IR, has EDID management, which we'll speak about in a little bit. It has an HDMI loop out. It's compact. It's very efficient as well. It cuts CEC. CEC is consumer electronic control, and some people will use it to control the cable box or vice versa, and it's handy, but it doesn't always work. And it's not able to be defeated in a lot of extenders. The technology used in this extender allows us to be able to turn it off. So in this case, it is turned off. If you do want to use CEC, you would have to step up to the next extender, which is a EX1L. So also, this is field updatable, so we can change the firmware in the field. It also has a log function in case something happens. It's in a situation that we've never seen before, new cable box, new streamer, etc. It is possible to plug a PC into this device and let it boot up and read it, and we can take that information, find out what happened, and write you new firmware. It's pretty neat. Also, this powers from one end, either one of them. So you only need one power supply, and you can power the TX or the RX. So the TX, you have the CAT output, so this is where the category cable would go onto the receiver, and it has diagnostics. You have IR in and IR out, your power connection, you have an HDMI input, you have an HDMI loop out, you have a USB micro connector, this is for firmware update or for logging, and you have the EDID selector. EDID stands for Extended Display Identification Data. So when the HDMI circuit is first completed, part of the handshake or part of the communication is the display telling its information to the source. So the display may say, I have this color depth, this refresh rate, this resolution, these capabilities with audio, etc. And that information is transmitted to the source, and the source says, okay, I hear you, and I've got that, I'm going to give it to you, or okay, I hear you, and I'm going to give you this instead, or I'm a little confused. So what can happen is, if you have wrong information by either a typo or a firmware update, or maybe it's just an older set-top box and it's a very new display with a lot of features that it didn't see back then, and maybe the firmware is not up to date, etc. And what can happen is you get confusion on the request, and odd things can happen. So EDID management is really handy. So in this case, we have 4 settings. You can say, leave it alone. You can say, this is just whatever the TV is asking for, we'll present that information. Or you can present pre-done information. So we have a 4K 60 Hz stereo. That's kind of universal, so it works when a lot of times other things will not. And we have one preset to 1080p stereo as well. Or you can tell it to copy the EDID from the loop out. So the receiver, where the category plugs in, you still have the diagnostics, and you have IR coming and going. And then, like I said, you can use either end for power. And you have the HDMI output for the display, and of course you have the USB micro connector for firmware updates. So in the diagnostics, it's pretty neat. So you look where the category cable plugs in, you'll see a green light and an amber light. The green light indicates power is applied. Okay, so if power is applied to it and the category cable is good, that green light will be lit on both the transmitter and the receiver. If it's flashing, it means it's got a poor connection. Something's wrong with either the power supply. You have low voltage going to the power supply, or it's a short or something, or you have poor category cable. And if it's dark, then it doesn't work, right? So on the amber end, tells you about the HDMI circuit. So if it's lit solid, you have a signal from the source through the transmitter, through the category cable, to the receiver, and connected to the display. The circuit is complete. If it's solid, it has HDCP. If it is not, if it's flashing one time a second, it does not have HDCP. And that could be an indicator of using a laptop or an NVR or camera or something of that nature. If it's flashing rapidly, there's a bad HDMI cable most likely, or it's an unstable connection. And if it's dark, the circuit is not complete. So you can very quickly look at it and figure out what to do. So there is a logging feature. This is something that's going to be very, very rarely used. It's used whenever we find, or you find in the field, something that we've never seen before. Maybe that's a new market, maybe it's in a different country, maybe it's a new cable box, and what happens is it's something falls down, something doesn't work. What's neat about these devices is you plug a PC into them, we send you a logging firmware, and you can log the interaction, and we can see what fell down, and we can write new firmware to solve the problem. So it's pretty neat. These are very, very quick to do. It only takes like 5-10 minutes max, and you can reload the new firmware quickly as well. So the troubleshooting is real easy on these. So the LED indicators are your first line. So you look at it and say, okay, is the category and power good? Yes. Is the HDMI good? Yes. Okay, so you know that's not the problem. Then you would use the EDID settings. So between the LED indicators and the EDID, you're going to solve 99% of the issues out there. So quick recap, it is an extender designed to get HDMI cables over long distances over relatively inexpensive category cable. The Micro2i can be replaced with newer technology as it becomes into existence. The Micro2i also supports the entire HDMI 2.0B format with the exception of Dolby Vision, but it does support HDR10 and hybrid log gamma and wide color gamma. IR signals can be sent back and forth for control of the display or control of the source. Power supplied on one end, either one, and it has diagnostics and EDID management for troubleshooting. And then for super advanced issues, it could be logged and you could load new firmware with the PC. If you have any other questions, please reach out to us. You can hit our website at simplifiedmfg.com or you can call us at 833-436-4411. Thank you.